The playoff best ball semifinals are here, and it has been a journey to get there. What happened in week 15? What can we look forward to in week 16? Let's talk about it, of course, along. Did I survive any teams into the semifinals? Let's tease that out. Let's get there when we get there. I'm sure the chat's already excited to talk about their exposures. We got 2 left in the Millie Maker. You got 2 left in the DK Millie here. 1 BBM left. Shout out to all you guys who did advance the team, and shout out to all you guys who didn't advance the team too. This is really a tough time of year. I know the pod luck complaints are out there. I know people are stressed because of what they did get across, they didn't get across. I think our pal Pete Overzet was at least tweeting about him only getting a chow chow. I'm not sure if that was all he got, but talked about he only had 1 BBM that was in competition yesterday. Even really good drafters who we trust and who I would say, for me and Pete in particular, like guy who I attribute a lot of my best ball knowledge to and my interest in the sport and all that came from doing shows with Pete, from even before that, watching Pete do the stuff with the ship chasing guys. So it's not an easy game. It's not an easy time. If you feel bad about it, don't worry. You are not alone in it. Do I feel bad about it? Let's find out in a little bit. But let's talk about week 15 a little bit here. Let's put this on half PPR. Who are your top scorers in week 15? We're not going to look at the entire season. This week was batshit, I have to say. Like, this week was insane. The 0 RB return, I guess, was what you would say, with wide receivers going crazy this week. All the chalk falling apart. Jamar Chase, less than 14 points. I think Saquon had less than 10. Derrick Henry, I don't even know what he had because he wasn't on any of my teams. It was really a tough week. So if you did get wiped out here, I feel bad. I think that's a tough part of things. I haven't heard from our guy Mathology or other guy too in the thoughts. I think with how their teams were built, I think they might have had a hard time surviving their pods after being, there we go. 2 in the thoughts was top 5 scorer for the entire year. And then you get 1 week, you get into a pod and you get blanked. It's a tough scene. So I feel really bad for the guys that I like here. I feel less bad for the guys on Twitter that thought they had 1 BBM in week 14 because they had a high advance rate. But this is sort of the game we play. I guess I'm going to give my little opening monologue here. It's a tough sport. Best ball is. It is a lot like a lotto ticket. I think that's something I tried to say this entire year. This is now my 3rd year maxing out BBM, my 4th year playing best ball for some volume, but really the 3rd year I've really been in trying to think I could make a run of this, do something good with it, create good content around it, all that as well. Obviously more as the years have gone on that front. But I think for best ball, it really is like, I almost feel like everybody should open their streams and be like, look, you think you can win this money. If you're playing BBM, you're playing the DK Millie, you're playing the Drafters Million, you have to realize you are just basically buying a lotto ticket. You're paying, if you're doing the research, studying players, paying attention to the news the entire offseason, taking advantage of ADP pockets where there's times that guys are lower, that they shouldn't be lower. Those are things you're doing to give yourself the best lotto ticket you can. It's like a lotto ticket where you can put some work in to get better numbers. And I think that's sort of the thing you're looking at here. But ultimately, it is still a lotto ticket. Like, the pod luck is such a big part. There were some pods I was in where guys scored 200 points with teams too that are missing like 4 guys. Insane to see. And then there's some pods where they scored 130. Like, it's that's just the luck component of it. That's how this goes. And the other thing too is, like, a team that was good this week might not be good next week. A team that was good this week and next week might not be good for the finals. And that's and you get to the finals and sometimes a guy might have a heart attack on the field and you don't get a game and the entire world stops. That's what happens in best ball. So the more you can make peace with that, the more you can play best ball for entertainment and not be so, singularly focused on, I have to win this much. I have to win this big tournament. I have to do that. Look, I have fun chasing the big tournaments. I didn't even do any puppies this year. I didn't do any sidecar turns. I just went after the big ones only. And it's tough. Like, that's the game we play. So I know a lot of you guys know that already, but for you guys that don't know that, if you're new to the space, and I know we do get some new people in who have questions and want to know more and want to be excited about their teams and all that, there's a real disappointment on the flip side of it if you're not prepared going in. And I think for me next year, as much as I want to sell the enthusiasm of best ball, the joy, how much fun I have, coming up with players, the moment we start in January and start looking at rookies, that shit's so much fun for me. This part is like the least fun part. I feel the anxiety myself. I was up till 2 a.m. last night just stewing over everything, like whatever, again, I want to spoil what my outcome is, but like, it is one of those things where the mentals of best ball are really tough. If you play it for fun, it gets a little bit easier. If you play it for fun and you're also doing content every day and streaming all of your drafts, maybe a little bit less fun, but that's the game here. So I hope you guys are doing well with it. And I hope that even whether you have teams or not, I just hope you're in a good mental state with it. And if you're not, feel free to pop into the VIP Discord, chat in there. Of course, the chat's here, comments here. I always reply to everything, but just want to say that out loud because, like, I think basketball is really one of those sports that, like, you feel so much enthusiasm. Like, a couple of years ago, I feel like I was like almost pre-spending my money. I'm like, man, I have this teams are so fucking good, whatever. And it's like, you can't do that. You can't get that mindset. So I think that's really the main thing I would say with best ball, and we'll do the best we can to talk about that more. Checking some chats here real fast. Not the greatest week, but an insane hold. Addison under 15, another surging team. There you go. Glad to hear that. 30 out of 150 advance in big board. 1 out of 18 advance this week. Brutal. That's tough. Big board could be a nice tournament. We'll talk about that. Big board right around the corner. That's true. Best show of the week. I appreciate that. I don't know if I agree, but I'll take it. And yeah, talking about Hamlin. I mean, look, that was a tough one. That was me. I had Higgins. I had Joe Burrow. I had no QB points. I had, I think, Hayden Hurst in that one. I had Devin Singletary in that game. I had like 4 or 5 guys in that game. So it'll never be okay to me to finish. I finished top 200 or whatever that year in BBM. And I had a lot of horses left, including a lot of free QB points, and just didn't get it. 18 out of 50 or 650. There you go. You just want to talk about how many they had. Yeah, whatever. Feel free to put whatever you want in chat. Your victories, your highs, your lows. We'll hit them all as we go. Your top scorers this week: Josh Allen, Jared Goff, both put up 41 fantasy points. The main thing I've said about elite QB, which is the thesis from the moment we've drafted teams, honestly, the moment I've ever drafted a team, really QB is the flattest position. Projection-wise, you see it every week. You have guys due to the matchup, high Vegas total, whatever the case may be. They suddenly have a high projection. They're the chalk play of the week because they're a value. They look good. Everybody goes there. QB, you could spike a ceiling from anybody. Obviously, it's not really everybody. Will Levis is not spiking you a ceiling. Daniel Jones not spiking you a ceiling. Derek Carr, all the guys that I took late are not spiking you a ceiling. Bo Nix, honestly, he didn't give you one this week either, even though he can give you one. But the reality is for most QBs, you can find a similar ceiling for a QB at pick 150 as you can a QB at pick 30. And that's what you're seeing right here. Josh Allen, the week of all weeks, and that same game, Jared Goff, 0.2 fantasy points less, despite not running. Throws for 500 yards. I don't expect him to do that often, but the real point is that Jared Goff was as valuable of a piece this week as Josh Allen. So I put Josh Allen in the thumbnail. He feels borderline inevitable right now. In reality, though, like he could give you a lower scoring game in these next few weeks, and Jared Goff could beat him. Lamar Jackson could beat him. Aaron Rodgers and Baker Mayfield could come close enough that the fact you took them late and you had another receiver in the third round or an RB where Josh Allen was picked instead, that guy won you everything. Like, that's still where you are. So I think I have to keep reminding people about the chalk every week and how like having the chalk isn't necessarily a good thing. If you fancy with Josh Allen, more power to you. Your stacks are probably not as clean, not as easy to get there. As we saw, even Amari Cooper, surprise stacks, flat 0 for him. But I think for Josh Allen, the rushing upside, the fact that every touchdown's flowing through his hands. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns, I believe, in the first quarter of that Detroit game. So like he's everything for that offense. But like at a certain point, you could have a James Cook game. You could have a game where the defense carries you. Those things are still in the picture, especially when they're facing some softer teams coming up, like your New Englands, like your Jets. You might not see Josh Allen push it as hard. So he's obviously competing for an MVP. That helps, but like they just have to win. They don't have to put up a shitload of fantasy points. So for Josh Allen, I think really you're seeing the upside of Josh Allen, but with the other part of that too, where Jared Goff, nobody's thinking Jared Goff's giving you 40, and he gives you 41 in week 15. Devontae Adams, 38 fantasy points. Devontae Adams, there's nothing this man loves more than to tank your fantasy team, your basketball team the entire year. And then he shows up for the playoffs, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to go. Softest matchup possible versus the Jags. I talked about that all week. Frankly, should have played more Jets stacks. I was just like, I just don't know what the Jets are doing with this total and the matchup. Like, are they going to go that hard? In reality, ended up being a perfect game stack. Won people the Fantasy Football World Championship. I think might have been the Million Maker winner this week as well. Was Aaron Rodgers, at least a single. So I think for Devontae Adams, right now, I would have the questions about fulfilling that performance again, hitting these highs. I don't think he puts up 200 receiving yards against anybody else in the league besides the Jags. Maybe, honestly, I really can't think of another team. Like your Arizona's soft. They're not going to give up 200 yards to Devontae Adams. Really a unique spot for him. So if he advanced you somehow kept them alive for this long, more power to you. But Devontae Adams, I feel like I'd have real concern heading into week 16, week 17, that he can do it again. But again, he loves it. This is what he plays for. He plays for the fantasy playoffs. He does not play for the rest of the year. Lamar Jackson, 36.1 fantasy points for him. Really good day. Got outshined by Josh Allen. A game where there's a huge spread and Derrick Henry got no touchdowns. Lamar Jackson throws for a bunch. Really nice day for him. But if you have Lamar with fucking Rashad Bateman, one thing, by the way, which has tilted me this week, really in particular, I don't think it was a team that advanced, but it made me think about it a lot. One of the things that set me off with Jeremy finally, that dude who was in every stream, forced his way into 33% of my drafts last year, forced his way into 50% this year before I just banned him from the channel. I was like, I can't do this anymore. He had taken away Rashad Bateman for me in a Lamar stack, And I was like, motherfucker, man, this is the only receiver that's actually got some value right now in this offense. And it was just because he was like just grabbing parts that he liked. Obviously, he didn't care about my stacks, and did that in every single stream over and over and over again. But Lamar and Bateman, quietly one of the best combos you could have had this year, because Zay Flowers week to week is not paying off. Andrews is an elite tight end, not quite paying off, even though he gets a touchdown this week. And he's honestly been doing that a lot more after that bad start. Lamar, I think that's the big issue, though, is like for Bateman, he's playing well. He probably advanced a lot of people this week. But to me, he feels more like a Zay Jones than a guy I'm expecting this to be a sign of a breakout. If anything, I wouldn't be shocked if you see us have a week for Zay Flowers coming up, because of the fact Zay Flowers has been really quiet for a while. Kind of feels like you need to pepper him with targets at some point. So Lamar Jackson, I think, still a strong play here. He's one of the guys here. It feels kind of like, I mean, it's always felt to me like Wacky Races, if you guys know that, where you have like Dick Dastardly and Muttley. This is like a dated reference before even I was like, it was a cartoon before I was a kid. But like basically where everybody has these cars together and it's like, who's going to get to like who's going to win the race? Is it going to be these guys? Is it going to be the fucking shark from that show with the band? Is it going to be, I don't know, fucking Barney Rubble? I might be mixing up the characters who are in the race. But the point is you have like all these different cars, these different characters coming together, and like Midnight Run, I think a similar concept as well. But like, that's sort of what this is, where it's like Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson versus, I mean, probably not Aaron Rodgers, versus Baker Mayfield versus Jalen Hurts. It's like, what car is going to get you there in the finals? It really, any of them can. That's how I feel about Lamar. Is like, I think was a little bit cheaper than Josh Allen. That probably helps. But for Lamar, I don't know that he's like created so much distance. He helped you advance. I think he was a great play for that. He's probably live to give you 30 points on any given week. But is the stuff around him stacked up with him good enough? Is there also some chance that we see Derrick Henry to try to give him one big game here down the home stretch to get him going? Because he's been quiet for like a month now. Those sort of the concern points for Lamar, but really hard to critique Lamar. But I have to point out, like, I think there are guys that could still beat him down the home stretch. Devontae Adams just getting his touchdowns from Rodgers before AR retires and moves to Peru. We'll see about that. I mean, with how he's playing, I think he's going to talk himself into another game. Those 140s could be dangerous week 16. I certainly hope so. My Lord and Savior Chase Brown is here to advance me into Holy Land. Speaking to the choir, preaching to the choir here. Cooper nuked in round 2 last year and ghosted round 3. That's true. He got hurt, but yeah, that was a bad combo. Put up 45 and then was gone the next week. Not what you want to see. Mike Evans at number 5, big week for him. Wouldn't be shocking to see Mike Evans have a few more down the home stretch. He has to put up, I think it's probably now like 110 per game to hit his 1,000-yard mark after he put up 150 this past week. Mike Evans, it's almost like he didn't realize. It's like he forgot to turn in his homework. And he's like, I got to do it now. Mike Evans has been a 1,000-yard receiver every year he's been in the league. And that's one of the most impressive streaks, I think, in football, just because of what it requires in terms of being healthy, being productive, and all that. And he was at like 600 yards, like a little bit less than that heading into last week. Then they fed him like crazy. This week he goes off. I wouldn't be shocked if you see Mike Evans keep doing it, just because like he has to play really well in the home stretch to keep this mark going. And I'm sure they care about getting him the mark. And also the Bucs are still playing for playoff spot, playing for playoff seeding. So Mike Evans, I think, could be a guy where the advance rate was okay. He wasn't as good as Chris Godwin. But you added maybe a little bit of regression on Jalen McMillan's side. And Mike Evans, I don't think he puts up games necessarily quite like 32.4 fantasy points over and over again, but I think he gives you 20, maybe once, twice more. Wouldn't shock me if it were both weeks. So for Mike Evans, I think he's a good play moving forward. I think there is some stat kind of backing to him. He's seemingly getting healthier from the hamstring as well. That's all good signs for Mike Evans if you have him on your teams. Goff outscoring everyone is crazy. It is, but it's not really. I mean, that's the thing with best balls. Like QBs can spike randomly. And when you have Amon-Ra putting up 30.3 fantasy points, I mean, this is what you stack. Like, this is why for this particular week, a Goff Amon-Ra stack was more valuable than Josh Allen on his own. Because number one, you had freed up that elite capital, the elite QB capital. And number two is that you got 2 parts of the parlay right. So that's sort of the tough part with Josh Allen, is like you're not really getting anything else right with him because like who's the receiver is going to go off? It could be Shakir. It could be Kincaid. It's never is, but it could be. It could be Cooper. It could be Keon Coleman. It could be just James Cook running the ball alongside Josh Allen, which is kind of the 2 main scorers this past week. So for Josh Allen, like that's the tough part. Jared Goff, it's just a lot easier to kind of say like where that production's coming. Baker Mayfield, same thing with his 29 points. Like Aaron Rodgers, same thing for his 30.1. Obviously, we didn't know before the year that Rodgers would be throwing to Devontae Adams. But like this is what you get when you have like a QB that's stacked up more logically, is you're getting 2 parts of the top 10 right. Rodgers and Adams, Goff and Amon-Ra, Evans and Baker Mayfield. Like that's sort of what you're seeing here. So that's one thing to keep in mind with best ball in general. It's why we say stack. It's why we don't just grab random players and play it like a parlay. You're seeing it kind of play out here. Rodgers at 30.1 fantasy points. Baffling. I mean, really, the matchup against Jacksonville, as we talked about, so soft, so easy to get going in that one. So that's the whole thing for him. Look, he's playing, I think, to justify his existence in the NFL. So I think for Aaron Rodgers right now, I don't know that I expect this to happen again, but I think much like a Mike Evans, he's playing for something a little bit bigger. At a certain point, the Jets have to call off the dogs, just go like, hey, this isn't good for you guys to keep playing. Like you're all old. You need to be healthy for whatever the next coach is going to be. But Jeff Ulbrich is coaching for whatever work he's going to get next. Rodgers is playing to show that the Jets should keep him because it seems like that's the outcome he wants the most still right now. They're all playing for something. So I'm not going to write off Rodgers, even though I think he got the softest possible matchup. He did well in that. Baker Mayfield, talked about him already, but 29 fantasy points. Bucks playing hard. Bucks playing well. That's all we're looking for there. James Conner went nuts. James Conner, I think, quietly one of the bigger advanced pieces this week. I feel like I saw him in the number one team in every pod. Him being cheap, him being a bell cow. The matchup for him this week, I forget where I was looking through some of the games, and I forget who Arizona's facing. They're facing Carolina, right? Yeah, they're facing Carolina. Only a 4-point favorite, which is kind of surprising on the road. But another matchup on paper where I think people who are advancing James Conner are probably going to feel really good about having him heading into week 16. So Conner, 28.3 fantasy points. Absolutely an apex for him on the year, but hey, looking pretty good. Yeah, great match. It worked out really well for Saquon Barkley and Kareem Hunt and every other chalk RB. Worked out well for Rico Dowdle, I guess. But besides that, he didn't get a touchdown. But yeah, on paper, a good spot. It just doesn't seem to always work out that way versus Carolina for whatever reason. And there's really no reason data-wise where it doesn't work out, that the RB doesn't smash. Jalen Hurts, 28.1 fantasy points. Dangerous QB to be bringing in. So fucking smarmy in the press conference after the game where he's like, so you guys like what you saw in the past game? Like, shut up, Jalen Hurts. But that was exactly what I knew was going to happen. So what I said in streams all last week was that they were going to try to address the passing game. They were trying to water, I think was what they were saying, water the plant that is the passing game. They did it. A.J. Brown got going. Devontae Smith got going. Those guys can shut up for a week. In reality, that they do need that upside to compete in the playoffs. Wouldn't be shocking to see them push the pass game a little bit more in these final few weeks. Saquon, frankly, just due to come down. It's been the reality the entire year that people don't want to hear. Consistently beating your expected fantasy points is good for you. Obviously, like that's great. But in reality, that's what you expect that to come down to. And he was like 8, 10, 15, 20 points ahead of expected fantasy points. You see that downside now because like that's just what football is. That's what the data is. That's what the math is and all of it. So for Jalen Hurts going on a run here wouldn't be crazy. But I think that for Jalen Hurts, he showed something here. His biggest upside will be that passing production plus running in a few more touchdowns. So you could still get there, could still have more spike weeks from Jalen Hurts. The Eagles are a very annoying team. Like they're fighting on the sidelines. The fucking defensive line coach is yelling at Sirianni. Just a catastrophic team, I think is basically it. Brian Thomas Jr., we got 27.5 fantasy points. As I mentioned, you go through the next gen stats, look at all the breaking routes. They're using Brian Thomas like I thought he should have been used by a team that like would draft him. And my concern with him coming in is like you had Christian Kirk there. I talked about this throughout the year. You had Christian Kirk. You're bringing in Gabe Davis, a big money. You have Evan Ingram there. You have a lot of guys that kind of keep Brian Thomas from developing like he needed to from LSU, where he was super efficient, but was basically running go routes, running some post routes, like running nothing that was serious. Now he's getting in breaking routes. Now they're putting him cutters constantly across the end zone, give him shots of touchdowns. Like they're using him really well. He is a piece here where he's probably advancing a good amount of sharp teams, I would think. He does have some guys around him, like your DeAndre Hopkins, maybe. I mean, with Mahomes being banged up, we'll see how that goes. Like you have guys around him who could be leverage against him in the next few rounds. But Brian Thomas right now, I think a really strong play. And really the workload's there from the opportunities there from it looks good. Jahmyr Gibbs, another big beneficiary. Torn MCL for David Montgomery, out for the year, had to have a surgical procedure. Don't draft him in your playoff best ball. Somebody's asking about that. I think Wounded Geese, which I'm not planning on doing much playoff best ball, but maybe at some point. But not, it's frankly my underdog deal I need to kind of look at with them because I don't want to keep just plunking my money in to make more content from them when I don't get money back from it. So it's sort of what I'm viewing it as right now, but I'll probably do a few streams once we get the playoff spots a little more solidified. Anyway, for Jahmyr Gibbs, great workload coming up with David Montgomery out. I don't think Sion Vaki, them adding somebody off the scrap heap, I don't think that changes the equation too much. Wouldn't shock me to see them add somebody else, though. I think a depth piece. I don't know who they'd add on free agency. Honestly, Lions probably wouldn't be a team that would just go like, Leonard Fournette, let's bring him in. I think they'd probably dig a little bit deeper, a little more intelligently than that. But that said, for Jahmyr Gibbs, Probably getting the lead workload, probably getting the bell cow workload. You're in a good spot with Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, for the next 2 games. So if you have him, he wasn't a great advance rate guy, but he is a unique piece moving forward, and 25.9 fantasy points. I would say a fairly quiet 25.9. I didn't see it in very many pods. James Cook, 25.8 for him. Good game. When Josh Allen doesn't get there, James Cook's likelihood gets higher. That said, in this spot, Allen goes for 41. Cook goes for 25.8. I think Cook's a nice leverage piece to have moving forward for the next few rounds. Whatever scoring Josh Allen doesn't get is going to likely flow to the RB. That's James Cook. Ty Johnson's workload has been kind of concerning. If you did have Ty Johnson's role rolled into James Cook, you're probably looking at RB1 for a lot of weeks this year. That said, for James Cook, good spot. He didn't advance like crazy. I think he's a good guy to have. Chase Brown, another guy, one of our heroes on the year. He and Jerome Ford both came through. My boys, 2 of my biggest stands on the year in every format came through, so I was happy to see that. Chase Brown's workload is good. Matchup wasn't great versus Tennessee. He still got there. Chase Brown, actually pretty exciting, I think, overall. Cook's usage is a little bit iffy. I agree. It's tough to have another guy coming in and getting countless passing targets away from you. But that said, he does seem to break big runs frequently. Again, that's a little bit hard to predict. I like Cook. I think he's been a good play this year. The big thing for him, though, is like if he scores a touchdown, theoretically, you're taking one away from Josh Allen. Obviously, you could still have Ray Davis steal a touchdown. You could have more likely Ty Johnson steal a touchdown. But I think that's his main point, is that like he's an okay play. The floor is a little bit iffy from what compared to what you want in the playoffs. But if he hits that ceiling, he also hurts the Allen drafters, and I think that's a positive for any player at this point in a draft. Tyjae Spears, huge day for him. Tony Pollard got banged up. Tyjae looked great. Honestly, the best game he's probably played as a pro. Lots of him getting into space and making things happen. He's really should have been a 50-50 share this entire year. He's been obviously banged up a lot throughout the year as well. But Tyjae Spears, one of those 0 RB guys that looks good. And it's 16 and 17, the great irony. I usually only cover the top 15, but Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin. I will tell you guys, and again, I don't want to spoil my advance rates and all that shit. We're going to show you in a moment how I feel about things. I had a lot of, it may shock you to hear, I had a lot of Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin teams. At one point, I was advancing like 8 teams in BBM and like 12 in the big board. And I was like, this is hilarious. Terry McLaurin, he's got 50-yard touchdowns. He doesn't even need these. What a day. Because I was expecting it to be like every other week at wide receiver, where it wasn't that good, where guys weren't going off. Instead, Terry has a great day, 2 touchdowns, like 70-something yards, 7 catches. He left 3 50-plus yard touchdowns on the table, 2 of which he absolutely should have had, 1 of which he could have had, but would have been a tough play. Tough scene for Jaden and Terry McLaurin, even though they looked fantastic. And Jaden, too, got sacked a shitload in that game. They're missing Tyler Biadasz, the center, which I never care about that stuff, but like losing your center, who is a good center, and that does matter a little bit, or honestly more than a little bit, for how to perceive a player. That said, it didn't matter for Jaden's performance. He still actually ran more. But really, it's one of those things where, like, in best ball, just take nothing for granted here. I legit, like, saw the Terry McLaurin game. I was like, we're good, man. This is going to be fantastic. And in reality, I needed those 2 touchdowns, needed those 2 50-yard touchdowns. Probably needed the third one to feel really good about Terry really advancing for me. So that's where we are right now in things. You need your guys, if they're going to spike even harder. Terry does have the ability, like, legitimately, that could have been, even if we're going to throw out the 1 50-yard touchdown that was, like, a little bit short, was a tough catch, would have been hard to make. The other 2 were 50, I think, and a 60-yarder Ian Hartitz had posted. It was at least like, let's just say 50 for both, so kind of average it out. We're talking about 11 more points for both of those. 11 and a half, we're going to count the half PPR point. We're talking potentially you could have had another 23 points in the game, in addition to adding on another 12 or so for Jaden. So, like, that was potentially the game of all games to help advance as well for a guy who's a little bit of a lower drafted receiver. So, Terry McLaurin, still a great play, still has more of a ceiling left. And I'll keep chasing it, but we're going to get the Philly matchup, and they're going to have to correct some things, because if you guys recall, the Philly matchup last time out, everybody gave credit to Quinion Mitchell. In reality, it was just the Commanders did not force the ball in McLaurin, did not use him creatively, and that was sort of the game that started getting them moving Terry around, getting him on the right side more, where he keeps scoring all the touchdowns to the right side that Cliff Kingsbury never played him on. I still continue to believe that Jaden and Terry have a ceiling we have not seen yet, and it would be really helpful to get that ceiling in Week 16 for some people out there who may have advanced in various tournaments. Let's go position by position real fast here. We'll get to my advance rates. QBs we pretty much talked about: Josh Allen, Jared Goff, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels. Cooper Rush at number 8 is a shocker. Somebody in the Discord was posting about, and I forget who it was like, I should draft more. It might have been KY. I don't want to give miscredit to it. Who was posting about it. It was like, I should draft more backup QBs. Look how good James is doing. You shouldn't draft backup QBs. Like, it's a smaller outcome. Even the backups sometimes end up getting hurt, not playing as well. You end up going to third backup. Teams from hell just kind of have teams from hell kind of years sometimes. Cooper Rush, though, I have to give credit. The fact that he's playing this well down the home stretch, you still shouldn't have drafted him, but like he has played better week to week. He looked good a couple years ago. Filligan for Dak came in, immediately looked awful. But he's putting up viable fantasy games or close to it. He's not going to beat out Josh Allen or anything, but like Cooper Rush deserves credit, even though, and Mac Jones too. Mac Jones, I think my old friend Big Cat at Barcel, pardon my take, had a tweet where they called Mac Jones the shittiest cocky player ever, or the cockiest shitty player ever, something to that effect. And like that is Mac Jones. He's shushing guys, he's talking shit to linemen, or forcing them out of bounds. But these guys have played with some fire. They've kept the stacks alive, and I think really that's the main thing for Cooper Rush and Mac Jones. We've seen how it goes to some other teams. The QB goes away. Malik Neighbors, lots of struggles for him with his starting QB, let alone his backups. But like Cooper Rush and Mac Jones, round of applause for them. They actually have kept their players alive. And in Brian Thomas's case, found a ceiling they hadn't had. CeeDee Lamb, honestly, too. Like great ceiling for CeeDee Lamb lately. I'm okay. It does sound like you. Yeah, I think still shitty late round QBs. It's just the answer was take Bo Nix. The answer is take Baker Mayfield. I don't think the answer, and frankly, I think the answer was still taking your shots on Will Levis, taking your shots on Daniel Jones, or shots on Derek Carr. I still don't feel bad about those picks, and again, I don't want to spoil anything. I don't think those were things that killed me throughout the year either. So I think just taking shots at different late QBs, being really mindful of trying to flatten that exposure. That's sort of what I would say. I still would never go to backup QBs. Joe Burrow, down week for him, down week for the entire passing attack, but Burrow's still a viable score. If everybody else didn't go off, 18.8 fantasy points feels like it shouldn't be 10th overall. Drake May, 18.5 fantasy points for him. Not a bad day. He went for free. He's another guy you could have taken late. So that's your late QB options. Take the younger guys on the way up and hope that they somehow start at some point because they very likely will find a way to starting. Jordan Love, not a great week, under 18 fantasy points. Bo Nix under 17, good day for where he got drafted. Not a great day to help you advance, but he beat out Patrick Mahomes, who might not play this week. We'll see how that looks. But right now, the Kansas City line is under 20 points. So assumptions that Mahomes doesn't go. And then the next week is the Christmas game. So you might miss Mahomes for 2 games and his long-term health getting him ready to go for the playoffs. He's played the same high ankle sprain for the playoffs. Like I feel like 3 out of the last 4 years, like he keeps getting the same injury heading into the playoffs. And he keeps getting through it, but like you got to rest him, I think, at some point. Top RBs, James Conner, James Cook. We talked about those guys, their opportunity moving forward. Same thing for Gibbs, same thing for Chase Brown. Tyjae Spears, we'll see. Tony Pollard really should see some work down the home stretch. See what you have in Tyjae Spears, but I don't know how they're going to handle that. Josh Jacobs, not a great game, but more than good enough at 18 fantasy points. He and Aaron Jones, kind of similar plays here. Guys not doing a ton for you, but doing enough as your second RB, I think, in their build. So they're looking okay. Jerome Ford, my sweet boy, broke a long touchdown, deeply involved. Nick Chubb, sad to see it, a broken foot. He just might be done. Ford, though, if they keep Jameis out there, keep having him throw, it's going to help out Jerome Ford. So tough year for Jerome Ford. I feel like he should have paid off his ADP a lot more, but he helped me out this week. So Jerome Ford, to fucking kudos. I don't know what I'm doing here. Kudos to you, but kudos to Jerome Ford for what he did. Rico Dowdle, great game, because this is all rushing yards. He didn't catch a single pass. It was 149 rushing yards for him. He's just been great. He's been running the ball really well. Rico, to me, like Sincere McCormick, all these guys, I still feel like I struggle to see the real talent. I think they're just good enough and kind of young, and the blocking is coming together as the year goes on. Still not sold on him, but Rico avoids some tackles. He's a positive EPA rusher. He's a guy where I came in, I thought he and Zeke were functioning the same play because they basically performed like the same player in the past. Zeke, though, fat and useless now. For the most part, Rico Dowdle got some juice. So Rico, I think a decent play to have moving forward. Just the touchdown equity is not that high for him, and that's sort of the tough part. Bijan Robinson, shitty week for him. If you were relying on him a lot, it's not good. I think our pal Nez advanced a few teams. I don't know if they were Bijan specific after Nez drafted a ton of Bijan throughout the year. But Bijan, really want to see a better game from him versus Vegas, and you didn't get it. He's kind of fallen apart with the Kirk Cousins suffering, which, they've talked about needing to get the QB play better. I don't know if they actually play Penix. That's basically it. Rico 25 plus, 25 plus in what format? Like he's not going to give you 25 plus on Underdog, I don't think. He would have to get such touchdown run good, and he just doesn't get that workload, doesn't get that opportunity in the red zone. Rico, to me, I think your best case is getting 20 from him in half PPR, which wouldn't be bad. He's going to give you 100 rushing yards or close to it, I think, is pretty much a a certainty, but like he's not involved in the pass game. He's not getting red zone work. Like it's a cap ceiling. Rico's really not that great. But he's running well. He's just not, the usage is not that great. It's a better way to say it. Alvin Kamara, hurt groin. Seems like he's going to be going the wrong way for the next few weeks. Kendre Miller back to life. Kendre Miller now, I think the second highest avoided tackle rate in football, which it's small sample size, but you're going to see Kendre Miller a little bit down the home stretch. Derek Carr out for the year now with his broken hand and concussion. So Saints tank mode. Darren Rizzi's going to keep trying and yelling at people on the sidelines. Nobody yells angrily at things that are his fault more than anybody at coach than Darren Rizzi. If you ever watch Saints game, just keep an eye on it. It's worth watching. But Kamara, just not a great play to me moving forward because of the fact he's probably not healthy. So he did a lot for you moving forward. Hopefully you have stable RBs around him because that's it. But that spot, the Kamara Montgomery thing is one thing the entire year where I loved Montgomery. I'm like, I got to get some more Kamara. Didn't really get there. That spot might end up being one where it really helped you advance and it's just going to fuck you moving forward. So that's a little bit tough to see. Justice Hill, good week for him, siphoning some work away from Derrick Henry. This is also standard scoring. Justice Hill had a better day than that. Justice Hill was actually ahead of Kamara, Rico Dowdle, Ty Johnson, and Bijan Robinson in half PPR. So Justice Hill, good week for him. Amir Abdullah, good week for him as well when you adjust for half PPR. Rashad White, Zach Charbonnet, two guys who were in okay situations. Charbonnet, you want to see Walker keep being hurt. I think you have a shot. If Walker comes back in, at best, you're in a timeshare. Rashad White, Bucky Irving came back in, flattened his roll out. If you're a Rashad White guy, you want to see Bucky Irving out. If you're a Bucky Irving guy, you want to see Rashad White iced again, but it's not going to happen because he played well. It's tough scene. And Kyron Williams, hopefully there'll be better days for him. Wide receivers, let's get to this stuff fast because I'm probably taking too much time. I know you guys just want to see if I advanced anything. Half PPR, all right, that's back. Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, Amon-Ra, talked about all these guys. Brian Thomas, Terry McLaurin, talked about him. Devontae Smith, big week, mostly rising with that tide of the Philadelphia offense trying to fix the pass game after bitching so much. Devontae looking good. I don't know if they have to keep pressing it like that. They're playing Washington next week, and you could still throw all over Washington, even though it doesn't feel like it sometimes. For Devontae Smith, you got a shot, I think, of him being useful one more week. We'll see how that looks. CeeDee Lamb, good week for him with Cooper Rush. Again, Cooper Rush and Mac Jones keeping our wide receivers alive. That's all you can ask. Rashad Bateman, hard to expect this kind of game to happen again. He will get you your one deep target. He definitely is just one of those guys where you're really looking at kind of a Darnell Mooney type where he can get there in one play, get there in two plays. But for Bateman, I don't expect to be the most reliable. So if he advanced you, more power to him. But moving forward, I don't know what you're going to get. AJ Brown, he and Devontae Smith having the big day. You'd love to see that. Obviously, a lot of teams are not going to have that stacked. In the big board, it was possible to have Devontae and AJ together. So you hope you get more passing in week 16 against Washington. Washington, I think, can push things a little bit. Not the highest total in the world so far, based on what it opened at. Neighbors was really fed well by Tim Boyle, I thought. He came in and Neighbors just getting peppered with targets. One thing Tim Boyle does, which I've noticed whenever he starts, he just tries to get the ball to the alpha receiver if he can. And he did that with Neighbors. Neighbors caught a touchdown for, I think, the first time since week 3. So, look, Neighbors did his thing, probably helped some teams advance. He did not help a lot for the last fucking 2 months, but maybe down the home stretch, he has a few big games. Wouldn't shock me to see Neighbors have like a 30-pointer down the home stretch just because they have nobody else to throw to. And Neighbors seems to kind of want to get himself going, I think. And he deserves it, honestly, heading into next year. Like, as a team, you should want to get him going to make him work. Jalen Coker, one big play. If you drafted him, more power to you. He just wasn't on my radar. They had too many bodies there with Mingo, who sucked but was getting okay preseason reports. Coker, I feel like Coker's playing like I wish Leggett played is really the main thing. Leggett got banged up in that game. Coker does lose some routes for Evan Thielen out there. You probably need an injury for Coker to hit more upside. But if you have Coker as a 20th round pick in the big board, 18th round in BBM, maybe he could do something for you. Romeo Dobbs, big game for him. Yeah, I think he had 2 touchdowns, did he? But a decent day for Romeo Dobbs coming off the concussion, was on the protocol for a while there. I still love Romeo Dobbs. Green Bay receivers can go either way. I really wouldn't feel great about any Green Bay receiver moving forward, but they can all spike and have a big upside, so that's the trade-off for them. T. Higgins, nice game for him. Outscores Jamar Chase. Looked really aggressive out there. Made some big plays down the field. The team's going nuts for him. Breaking some tackles downfield after a catch. T. Higgins, I think they're just playing to get him right now, and Cincinnati still go because they do have that like 5% chance to make the playoffs. Keenan Allen, love that guy. A lot of people do not. You heard a lot of teams yesterday's advance rate with that touchdown he got. For Keenan Allen, though, he's playing. I think he's been the best receiver for Chicago this year. I know people don't want to hear that, but like when he's played, he's actually gotten open, been out there, caught touchdowns. For as much as Chicago keeps trying, and they do have a 20-point total this week, which seems kind of high for a team that I do feel like the motivation is definitely lacking. A little 1-2-3 Cancun. But Keenan Allen doing okay. Outscored Justin Jefferson at 16.8. And Jefferson here spiked some scores last week, gave you another usable game. That's Jefferson, usable game here. Maybe it could give you upside in week 16, week 17. It'd certainly win you BBM, but right now, do you want him more than Jamar Chase? I don't know. Do you want him more than Puka Nacua? I don't know. Do you want him more than Nico Collins? I don't know about that. There's a lot of stuff to go with all this stuff. Sitting Caleb rest of the season. I mean, he did not play well yesterday, but they're playing? Chicago plays Detroit this week. I mean, this is probably, I would think, Chicago's last stand against Detroit. Did kind of figure out Detroit in the second half of that game, but, this is 20-point total. And honestly, that might go down throughout the week. It wouldn't shock me. So we'll see how that looks. Jamar Chase at 22. Again, these guys are all still live here to do more. Jerry Jeudy with Tillman coming back in, going to be a little bit tougher for him as true ceiling, but still in play. Receiver, honestly, I think looking fairly fertile right now for at least those top 30-ish guys. And tight end to close us out here, Johnny Smith, the big week at 15 fantasy points. Nobody really broke the slate at tight end. Sam Laporta, 15 fantasy points for him. Decent day. We look good in that Goff stack with Amon-Ra. The binary stack probably carried some teams at a good clip. Trey McBride can't catch the fucking touchdown. If he does, his number's going to look a lot better. 13 fantasy points, though, this week at tight end. You'll absolutely take it. Brenton Strange, a guy who I did talk about for the DFS slate, wasn't really on my radar for best ball. He's probably not a lot of best ball teams out there. He was really efficient at Penn State, and he's a big dude, and they have a lot of targets to go around there. So for Brenton Strange, not a bad player for whatever that's worth down the home stretch. Josh Wiley took some production away from Chikakonkwo. Both guys, though, not bad days. For Tennessee, your big hope is that you get Mason Rudolph starting. Will Levis at this point, I just don't think has another 4-turnover game for Cincinnati. So Josh Wiley, Chikakonkwo, two guys with pretty decent roles here if you get Mason Rudolph starting again. Foster Moreau just keeps outscoring Juwan Johnson. That sucks. Pat Freiermuth, okay week. Mark Andrews caught a touchdown, only 9.4 points. Not that great, but it's okay. Noah Gray, 9. Troutman, 9. Nate Atkins, 8. Nate Atkins outscored Hawkinson and Kincaid. Tight end's awful, but any of these guys could spike. And where's Brock Bowers? Where'd our sweet boy Brock go? Brock Bowers down in 21, tied with Daniel Bellinger and just ahead of Kyle Pitts and Travis Kelce. What an abomination. Elite tight end if Trey McBride feels good. Sam Laporta can go back to nothing this week. It's going to be a tough scene. All right, guys, here's the big one, our big finale. Before we get to it, again, if you're watching this video, you are in the most niche of niche content I do. And if you enjoy this, you should be subscribed. You should hit the like button. You should leave a comment here. Your games go a long way for me. Just one guy running multiple channels here for the NFL and NBA. Maybe one for MLB. Who knows what's coming up in the future? But that's what I'm doing here every day, showing you my work, showing the process. Once you get in a big board season, you're going to get an edge from me. I promise you that. It's been the case now for like 3 years running. So come hang out here. Lots to come for Splash Play. Even though the DFS season is winding down, we still keep going through the playoffs, doing the DFS content. Still be doing the big board content coming up in January. There's a lot coming up here on Splash Play. And of course, check out our sponsors too. Stochastic, 15% off. Best deal you'll find with them, and that 15% off is in perpetuity. Link in the description for them. Promo code SPLASH as well if you can go on there. Unabated, $30 off the promo code SPLASH. You want to get better results in betting, build your bankroll for best ball, use Unabated's tools and data. Their market-based stuff for the NFL, for college sports, for MLB looks great. Conditional projections for NBA, I talk about every day on the NBA channel, but go check that out. But please support our sponsors here because I got to renegotiate a lot of stuff. The channel's doing well, guys, which I appreciate as well. Thank you guys for being on the journey. Before we hop into all my shit, I do want to say that part, and I'll say it full screen too. Thank you guys for being here. This has been the most content this year. I didn't get a lot of credit for it because whatever. I'm a niche channel. I get it. I streamed the most drafts anybody's ever streamed in best ball. I was here every day doing the work. Besides like 1 or 2 days here and there. That's what I'm gonna keep doing next year. That's the goal. So I appreciate you guys helping me get from, I think, stage 1 of that journey here. We got to get to our 5K subs. Got to keep it moving. But stage 2 is next year, and we'll see how it goes. But I appreciate you guys being a part of that because it's been a long fucking year, dude. It's been a long year, and whatever 1 or 2 women might be out there. But that's that. All right, the part you want to see here, my advance rate. I crushed in the fucking big board. I had 6 teams advancing in the big board. Let's start there. So look, I said this entire year, my biggest advantage was the big board. I thought I built really good teams. All my teams this year were streamed for the big board as well. So these are all advancing. You can in fact see them if you wanted to go back and see these drafts. I'm really proud how this worked out with the big board. Got a little bit lucky on one team, I think was at 5, and then Keenan Allen caught the touchdown, bumped me up to 6. But I only put in 62 entries. I did not max out the big board. I have a 10% advance rate on just my semifinals team. So feeling really good about it. The big board is 1 out of 10, 1 out of 10. It's a favorable advance rate to get to the top, I think, 550 person final. But I'm happy with the results here. I had these 6 first place teams, 3 second place teams, 2 third place teams. Like, I built really good big board teams, and I think that's probably a strength. It makes me sadder in hindsight that I didn't get to I didn't 150 max it. It just wasn't where my mind was at that time of the year. I do think the big board is probably going to be your biggest edge. No, I didn't advance. Nobody who did a show with me advanced, unfortunately. But yeah, basically at this point, I don't know. We can go through the teams, I guess. They're flawed still, but they all put up good scores. 160 on this one. Jaden with Daniel Jones. Again, the late QB didn't really hurt me that much this year. All right. Advancing 3. Hey, advancing 3. Look, your expectation, I forget what the exact math was. My expectation to advance based on doing 62 drafts would have been about one team, 1 and change, I think. So to advance 3x stat, 3.5x stat felt pretty good. Tyjae Spears, big week coming through finally. James Conner, good week for him. Swift still in play. That's getting a little bit flimsy. Ty Chandler, an abomination of a pick. I really hate the industry talking into that one. And I talked myself into it too, I'm sure. Buck Irving, Kenneth Gainwell, Tank Bigsby still alive. The week to week, who knows? Jefferson, sad news. We have Diggs in this one. So that's going to be a 0. We wish we had another player in that spot. Tank Dell, Addison, Brian Thomas, Lad McConkey. We can survive, but losing Diggs, having Tank, who kind of sucks, not the best. Jalen Hyatt, mostly a 0. Trey McBride looking good. Shig has been playing better than, honestly, I would have hoped for. Daniel Bellinger, and yes, it is Lad McConkey in the team. All right, other teams I have on the big board. This is one with Kyron. I actually have a little more Kyron need this week than I would have thought possible. Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield, Bryce Young, all my QBs still alive. All of them not high advancing pieces, though Baker Mayfield's been good all year, so maybe. Kyron with DeAndre Swift, Brian Robinson Jr., Chase Brown, Jerome Ford, J.K. Dobbins. Rest in peace, J.K. Dobbins. Everybody else here still alive and looking okay. And Ford making a late run here I'm rooting for. We got the Rams double with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. Keenan Allen on top of that. Terry McLaurin, Christian Watson. Fuck Jalen Polk. Tez Walker caught a touchdown. Ran 2 routes, but he caught a touchdown. Trey Palmer not alive, really. Kyle Pitts, we know the deal with that. Cole Kmet could spike, but doesn't look likely. Colby Parkinson going the wrong way with Higbee coming back. Team's alive. I don't know if that could win it all, but we got enough guys to do it. This one put up 170. A 4 QB, 4 tight end team, I believe. Yeah, so this one's got some real flaws. Jared Goff, Daniel Jones, Will Levis, Bryce Young. We're down 2 QBs, but Jared Goff and Bryce Young will carry the mantle moving forward. Devon Achane, Austin Eckler, that's tough. Chase Brown, Chuba Hubbard, Jerome Ford. So we're still okay at RB. Devon Achane, if you snuck him in, he could definitely spike that big game at any time. When that happens, though, who knows? Amon-Ra St. Brown, Amari Cooper, 0, did not help out. Brian Thomas Jr. did help out a lot. DeAndre Hopkins hopefully has great vibes with Carson Wentz. Troy Franklin, I think, played better than by the way, guys, Devon Valley week did not go that well. So you guys are watching on Sunday's video. Devon Valley 0 for 0. Troy Franklin beat him out. They got 2 catches. Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, Giants stuff not looking good. A retired Darren Waller, Sam Laporta, Noah Fant, Davis Allen. Shout out for Robert Griffin III here, my pal. Thank you for a full year of Squirt. I appreciate that. Look, there's more to come. Hopefully we'll have good spirits next week. We'll see how it goes. Another team scoring almost 170 in the big board. I really feel like I took advantage of the 20-round drafts. It's one thing I'm going to say. CJ Stroud, Baker Mayfield on this team. Can Stroud ever score points for us? It's a question you got to ask. Alvin Kamara, probably dead. Tony Pollard, going the wrong way, but hopefully still okay. Zamir White, useless pick. I hate that pick. Brian Robinson Jr., Jerome Ford, Charbonnet, Bigsby, still alive. It's going to be narrow, but we're still alive for these guys. We got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico, Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp, very cheap Cooper Kupp in the big board. I wish you could see where I drafted him, but you can't. Calvin Ridley, Xavier Leggett, Noah Brown, tight end, Johnny Smith, Juwan Johnson, Mike Gesicki, and Davis Allen. Hey, our boy Mathology. Shout out Mathology. I hope things went well for you this week, Mathology. But I appreciate you either way. Mathology, one of our OGs here, who's done, of course, top scorer this year in BBM in the regular season. So shout out to him. Dog Bowl top finisher as well. Hell of a year for Mathology. And I hope you've heard me say it on stream, Mathology. Very happy for you. Very proud of you. The work you've done as a player here and getting a lot better at everything. Mathology, now beloved too. Everybody's catching on. I said it before. We were like the indie venue that Mathology's playing. Now Josh Norris is talking about Mathology. Hayden Wings, he was the bell of the dog bowl. So shout out our boy Mathology. Another 160 team here for me. Jalen Hurts and Jane Daniels. I love this combo. We're getting it in week 16. Brian Robinson, Chase Brown, Jerome Ford. Love the top three. Khalil Herbert, Braylon Allen, not so much. J.K. Dobbins, not so much. Dylan Labe. How can Dylan Labe not get on the fucking field at this point? Really, that's it. And thank you, Mathology. I appreciate it, man. You know, I love you. One of our OGs here. And maybe this year we'll bring back the Pillow Talk metrics now. But honestly, I might not be able to duck Mathology. Too many streams are going to want him. A.J. Brown, Nico Collins, Devontae Smith. So a Hurts double I got in this one with McLaurin, with JSN, with Quentin Johnston, the best Chargers receiver we could possibly have. Jonathan Mingo coming along for the party. Yoshibis also coming along for the party. Brock Bowers, we survived with him. Hunter Henry survived with him. We might get Ben Sinnott filled in for concussed Zach Ertz. There's a shot of him getting built into the game plan a little bit more this week. This team, to me, didn't put up the hugest number, but moved on safely. I am in love with this team. Of course, it means it's going to get fucking wiped out in the semifinals easily. But man, this team, I think, is locked and loaded for a big board run here. Facing Dallas, too, for the Philadelphia side. We just need Saquon to not ruin it for that team. Another team here, just shy of 160. Again, built some fucking good big board teams. Jaden Daniels, Kirk Cousins, J.J. McCarthy surviving without our beautiful young boy there. Josh Jacobs, Jalen Warren, Javonte Williams, Chase Brown, Braylon Allen, Miles Sanders. Awful RB room. Probably one of two Miles Sanders teams I must have this year. Year before, yes, I took some Miles Sanders. We got that free agent contract. This year, not so much. Jefferson, Drake London, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Brian Robinson, Darnell Mooney. Loaded wide receiver room up top. Then it falls off a cliff. Rondale Moore, rest in peace. Brendan Rice fucking got Simpson softballed out without even existing. He fell into the vortex. He didn't get injured. Brock Bowers, Hunter Henry, Ben Sinnott. Those are my 6 big board teams here. The others we probably don't need to look at, but they were good. This one was CMC. Almost made it just shy of 3 points. A lot of teams of mine were just shy of like 3 points or so. I can't be that mad at it, given the run good. This one lost by 24. It had no shot. This one lost by 13, maybe had some shot. My Saquon team that I accidentally drafted against Pete on stream, that one fell short. Thanks, Saquon. Fun rookie 0 RB. This one fell short by 13. It's close. It's close for a lot of these, and some of them less close. I answered that one before. Probably going to do some later on, but not anytime soon. I'm going to ride out. I don't need another thing to distract myself until my teams are eliminated. So when they get eliminated, you'll probably see me do more, but I'm just not. I can't focus on it because Underdog doesn't pay me to do it. It's basically the main thing for me. There's only first place advance in this particular tournament. Yes, different tournaments, top 2 can. I didn't advance any in the little board. We're dead there. This team, though, was kind of fun. A bunch of first-round wide receivers from the olden days. Tyreek Diggs didn't help out. Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Cooper Kupp. Got a lot of those guys, but that one won't move on. I don't really care. Winning the little board, whatever. I really wanted to get a shot at one of the big tournaments this year. That was my goal. We'll do that. Badge Bros Brawl got wiped out here. Sucks. This team put up 150 to 180 every single week of the year, and then we get to the final or the playoffs. It doesn't fucking matter. But Saquon bombed out. Josh Jacobs, not a good enough day. Montgomery bombed out. Swift bombed out. Best scores we got were Brian Robinson and Singletary. That doesn't help. Jefferson and Chase, okay days, but got outscored by everybody who was a later receiver. Debo, useless. Devontae Smith, good day. Tank Dell, useless. Pittman, useless. Reed, useless. Bowers, useless. And Njoku hurt. Goddard hurt. My Badge Bros Ball dream is dead, and I'll never be able to get it back. Shout out, Justin. Appreciate that. It's always money time. It is indeed always here. And thank you for the super chat. It does go a long way. All right, your big board teams from me. We got 2. We got 2 across. And listen, I got to say, I'll say it up top. I don't feel particularly live, especially for one of them. I lost some teams I liked a lot. The team that the BBM DB Sim had me winning BBM with, that didn't advance, which was an Arizona-Denver thing. I don't feel good about BBM. I got to say that. But the amount to be able to advance semifinals team, especially with my advance rate being down this year, I've said it from day one. I think I build good teams for the playoffs. I've felt that from the moment I started doing best ball drafts seriously. My first year, I did a max entering a BBM. I got a finals team in. So, I think I'm good at the playoff team part of it. So that's the part where, the pod luck stuff, whatever, I think you're building teams for it. That said, this team got in by the skin of its fucking teeth. 140.36. got there because of the Keenan Allen touchdown late. The team itself is deeply flawed. Dak Prescott hurt. Geno Smith, the stupid fucking knee injury. He could have gotten me there much more safely. He only puts up 5.5 fantasy points. We lost David Montgomery, James Cook, Brian Robinson Jr., Chase Brown, Rico Dowdle have to pull the water. Those guys can. I think those are 4 valid RBs. Geno Smith, optimistic he's going to play this week, but I think they're playing Minnesota. So that's a tough matchup on paper. Yeah, Minnesota playing at Seattle this week. So we'll see how that goes. But Geno, hopefully we'll be able to go and give him some points. But Geno Smith versus Josh Allen and those guys, I don't feel great about that. CeeDee Lamb, though, I feel good about. Neighbors, I feel good about getting fed if Boyle's still the QB. DK Metcalf, he's just not being used as well as JSN this year, but he's still a player that could spike an upside game and feels like he's been due for one for a while. We got McLaurin here with no Jaden. I presume I got sniped on Jaden on this team. Otherwise, I don't know why I would have taken it. Keenan Allen, Lockett, Tolbert, Paris Campbell. So that's the other thing, too. My 2 advancing BBM teams, one is from June 19th, I believe. The other is from April 30th or something. So both were really early draft and cycle. So the main thing, I guess, for me is that I need to get better at drafting teams in the second half of draft season because I crushed in the big board, crushed these early teams. I think that's it. So tight end is awful. Luke Musgrave, a disaster. Noah Fant, barely involved. Juwan Johnson is really our only hope to spike a day there, but he doesn't seem to play well with Rattler for whatever reason. That's hope for this team. And in the good part, this is the team I was really sweating. This guy here, if he'd gotten one more Drake London touchdown or just a little bit more yards and points, he needed about 6 more. So a touchdown alone would have put him over the top. I wouldn't have advanced the Jaden team, and I really wanted to advance a Jaden team. So this is my team. This is the one, if I, knock on wood, obviously I'll take it. If either of these teams can make the finals, more power to me. This one I think is as a shot. Jaden advancing. Will Levis, we kind of want him not to play. I'll explain why. Daniel Jones, done. Kyron Williams, low advance rate, spike week piece. Hopefully he can get there. James Conner, he carried a lot of teams. We maybe don't want him to score as much this week, get some other guys to fill in. Jalen Warren, a low and advance rate piece. Chase Brown, been good. Jerome Ford, good. Marshawn Lloyd, we're live to get a score from Marshawn Lloyd if we make it to the finals. That's the hope. Jamar Chase can spike again. We're team Jamar Chase for a week. Malik Neighbors, again, I feel good about him. I'm a big Malik Neighbors fan down the home stretch. Zay Flowers, I think they got to feed him at some point one game here because he's been not good for a while now. Terry McLaurin, we talked about the fact that there's still a ceiling there. Oops, I don't know why I clicked out of it. Calvin Ridley. So this is the big part. I really want Mason Rudolph to start because Mason Rudolph will feed the shit out of Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley, I think, can get there if Mason Rudolph does it. And I'm pretty confident that Calvin Ridley is a guy that can actually get me through a round because he's probably not that highly owned. Same thing for DeAndre Hopkins to a lesser extent. Luke McCaffrey, less so. Ben Sinnott, we got a shot. Shea gave me 10 points this week. I think we'll do better with Mason Rudolph as well. I don't think the team is dead. I would love to have a better tight end in here. I would love Ben Sinnott to show me he's the man I thought he was. But I got at least one team with like my key guys in moving to the BBM finals and that, or semifinals rather. That's not put the cart before the horse. It makes me happy. So I'm pleased with my run out. I want to be, I'm here with you guys. I'm tilting for you guys on your behalf. But I got a Jaden team across draft number 62 on the year. And also, every team I advanced, granted, I didn't do a ton off stream this year. You guys got most of my exposure on stream. Every team is a stream team. So if we win something, I will be the first streamer to win a major tournament while streaming. So good stuff, hopefully coming up. It's fucking exhausting. It's stressful. Even with this going well yesterday, I was up till 2 a.m. just kind of like looking at the teams, thinking about stuff, just like couldn't wind myself down. I get really anxious about this shit. I got to say, like, that's why I talk about the mental health stuff up top. Like, just you put in so much work for something you want to see the outcome hit. There are people that have more semifinal teams by me by a wide margin. I think Liam's, who you guys may like, you may not like based on how the feedback's been for him. I think he's a sharp drafter. Got 5 teams moving on. Some guys I saw on Twitter had like 7, whatever. But I think we're in this. I think we're in the hunt, and we got a bullet. We got a chip and a chair. That's all we're looking for. So that's it. That's my best ball. Drafters, it feels really fucking inconsequential to go to Drafters right now. Drafters, I'm going to win $210 back. I don't know. Drafters has gone terrible. It's been going terrible. That's that. But really, the main thing I would say, And drafters, I'm not going to click the teams. I really don't care. If you're doing well in it, more power to you. I don't know if Wounded Geese, our guy who was in the chat before, he's still up here. Everything else, whatever. I hope somebody we know wins it. But at this point, guys, I will say it's like this has been a fucking haul. This has been a lot of work this year. It's been a lot of effort. It's been a lot of exposure of myself, just putting all my drafts out there, being willing to do it. I'm happy with how it's gone. Semifinals, who knows? Could end up blanking out again, even with having a little bit more on the big board. That's the name of the game we play. So try to have fun with it. Try to find some joy in it. Try to do all that. That's really the main thing I would say for you guys out there. Same thing for me. And let's keep it moving, guys. So let's check some chats. If we got anything else to hit on here, wrapping up a little bit early. Shout out Tyler. I did see Tyler advancing 2 BBM teams. Hope that held up. But shout out to Tyler if that's the case. Got a Jaden and Baker across. You didn't even put the Y in Jaden's name. Don't disrespect it. But that's fun. Jaden and Baker. It's a good combo. Cup and Tyreek, baby. All right, that one I'm not rooting for at all. Cup, I wouldn't mind. Tyreek, nope. I don't think I have a single share of Tyreek. Moving on. Patrick actually posted player advance rates. Gibbs is super low owned. Oh, there you go. All right. And Streamer been exposing himself. That's what I'm doing. Thank you. You appreciate me exposing myself. I appreciate that. Thank you guys for watching this one again. If you watch this entire video or at least chunks of it, you're probably the exact audience that should be here every day, getting hopefully whatever edge I can provide when I start doing the work faster than anybody else, earlier than anybody else for 2025 season. So please subscribe down below, hit the like button. Again, we're trying to get to that 5K subs. I have shown my work. I've shown my takes. I've given my thoughts about everything in football this entire year, and that is always the promise here of Splash Play. I will do the best I can for myself, and then you guys will hopefully benefit from that, from just hearing about it. Even if you fade everything I have to say, probably won't go well for you, but, you know, just take whatever you want from the show. That's here. Underdog, $1,000 of bonus cash. For some reason, you're watching an hour-long best ball recap show for the semifinals. You're not an underdog? Deposit now. Get $1,000 and get in for next year and follow those sweet big board takes. Stochastic, 15% off. Promo code SPLASH. Link in the description for that. Again, the best deal they have going right now. Play the NBA Cup with me. We'll be doing the Splash Play NBA show today for just the NBA Cup. So come along for that later on today. Unabated, our proud sponsor of the NBA show as well. $30 off the promo code SPLASH. Again, really betting can be a thing to help build your bankroll. Did do a good job of that for me a couple years ago when I was doing probably and kind of working on that stuff especially. So really, Unabated is a million times better than a lot of things that I would have built. So check it out for yourself. Build your bankroll, get smarter about betting. And the solver, whatever. Shout out to all the paying members and our guy Frank, too. I've not added on yet. You too can join the show. Of course, 5 new members today. Thanks to our guy Mathology. Shout out to him. But join the channel. Again, the Discord, we got chat going all day long there. Well, not all day long. But, you know, I pop in. Other guys are in there as well. $5 a month to get that. You get my data sheets every week. More perks coming up. Next year, a new tier coming as well. So stay tuned for that. But getting the Discord, that's always going to be the case for the $4.99 tier. So check that out. And gamble responsibly, especially in best ball. Play it for fun or don't play it at all. That's really the rule, even though it's always money time here. And hey, thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for being a part of this journey. I hope it goes well for you. I hope you don't fuck up my teams. I hope we don't end up in the same pods. Pod luck, you need it. That second BBM team getting 140. That's so there's teams out there that didn't advance a lot more. So it is what it is, guys. Maybe they're fucking seeding things for influencers, right? They feel I'm so influential and they're like, this guy's got to get in with that 140. But hey, who knows? We'll see how it goes, guys. I'll be back at 4 p.m. on the NBA channel at Splash Play NBA. Check that out. Thank you guys for hanging and check the chat one more time. Oh, shout out Tyler for the membership. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And hey, I'll see you guys again soon. So enjoy your days. Good luck at the semifinals and good luck. Bye-bye.